Alrighty, so in this video we are just going to cover the most basic functions in ZBrush as well as Dynamesh and brushes, okay? So when you first open up your ZBrush, you're going to see something like this. And just as a quick start to ZBrush, I always like to use this Dynawax 128 right here. So if you just and if for whatever reason you can't see it because it's way far to the right or whatever, you can hover your mouse over anywhere, left click and hold, sorry, and then drag it over. Then you can see it, right? You see the rest of the menu. So again, Dynawax 128, double click on it, you'll be able to start your ZBrush uh, project right away. So immediately you can see if you are using a mouse for whatever reason, I recommend that you have a tablet and stylus that is way more suitable for ZBrush. However, in this tutorial, I'm going to refer to things as if they are on a mouse, and the reason for that is because your stylus should have at least two buttons on it that you can map to do either the left click or the right click. Additionally, your tablet might have shortcut buttons that you can map to be whatever button you prefer. But for now, I'm just going to refer to things as if I am using a mouse, which I actually am using a mouse. So anyway, let's continue. So immediately you can see that you can sculpt. So if you're on a stylus, you can just start drawing. You can see you can, sculpt on your clay there. Then Control Z is to undo. A little bit about the navigation inside of ZBrush. So in order to rotate the camera around and see, I'm just going to sculpt a quick face here so we can kind of see the front and the back a little better. Amazing. There you go. So now that we have a face, we can pan around the camera. So in order to do that, if you on your mouse, right click and hold, you can move your mouse, you can move the camera around so you can see the side, the front, all that good stuff. All right. And if you want to snap it back to the front view, just hold down Shift while you're rotating, and it will snap to the front, the side, the top, and the bottom view like that. Cool. All right. So that's again, right mouse button down and move. Second is how to drag your object around like that, and that is holding down Alt and then right click and hold. You can drag the camera around so you can see your object. Okay, you can move your camera around. All right. Last but not least is the zoom. Is hold down Control, then right mouse button down and hold. You can zoom in and out of your object. Cool? Cool. And then if you hit F, that just reframes your object right there. So I'm going to right click and hold and hold Shift again, press down Shift to snap it back to the front view. Okay, so those are the basic command for your ZBrush. Next up is the key brushes that I like to use and the hotkeys for them. So over here on our left side is our brush menu. So if you click on it, this is all the brushes we have available to us. And there's a couple that I use all the time. And the first one is the default one, the standard brush, right? And the hotkey for that is BST. Okay. And then the next one is the clay buildup brush, with the hotkey for that is BCB, clay buildup. Okay. There you go. And then next up is the dam standard brush, and the hotkey for that is BDS. You can see for clay buildup, it kind of carves into your object like that. Okay. And then I also have the move brush, which is BMV, which is the move brush, and the move brush works as you maybe expect. You grab a chunk of the clay, you can move it in the direction of the brush, and the move brush is often used at medium to large brush size to move certain things. So to do that, up here is your draw size. You can increase that, and you can notice that my cursor gets bigger. Alternatively, if you hit S on your keyboard, that's your draw size going to show up wherever your cursor is. Or right click, same deal. You can see draw size there. I like to hit S. It's a bit quicker for me. There's your draw size. Do the same thing. So again, the move brush is BMV. And then the next one is the snake hook brush, which is BSH. And when you use that one, it's going to ask if you want to activate Sculptress Pro, or I'm sorry, it doesn't ask you if you want to activate it. It tells you that it's best to use Sculptress Pro with it. Just click OK, whatever. And then there's your snake hook. All right, so those are kind of your basic brushes that we're going to use. I'm going to throw one more in, and that's your Trim Dynamic brush, which is BTD. And what that one does is it allows you to flatten out a surface like that. Okay, so that's the Trim Dynamic brush. Okay, next up, so with those brushes you can use to, sculpt whatever you want. Most of the organic shape that we sculpt, we can do so using those brushes that I just talked about. And for every brush, I'm going to use the clay buildup brush here. For every brush we use, if you hold down Alt, you will enter the sort of alternate mode of that brush. You can carve in like that. Okay. So if it's built up like that by default, then you hold down Alt, it can carve in. All right. So that is your brush menu and key brushes. Again, you can explore all these brushes on your own, in your own time, and see what each one of them does. The next thing we're going to talk about is the symmetry. So if you hit X, by default, this project has symmetry activated for us. So whatever we do on one side will happen on the other. If you hit X, it will turn on or off symmetry. So by default, it's on. Hit X, I turn it off, just one side. Hit X again, turns it on. All right. And the rest of the symmetry settings is up here in Transforms. If you open Transform up, you can see it has Activate Symmetry. So same thing. That's the same thing as hitting X. And then by default, you can choose which axis the symmetry is on. By default, it's on X. You can choose to be on X and Y, or X, Y, and Z. So yeah, something like that. And then alternatively, you can also have a radial symmetry. So I'm going to turn off these two for now. And then by default, radial symmetry is, let you sculpt things in a circle, right? So that's what radial symmetry does. And just like regular symmetry, it also has X, Y, and or Z. So let's go back to Transform. And I just hit Control-Z a bunch to undo all that stuff. So you can do Y instead of X and sculpt there. It's going to ask me, do I want to undo? Sure. So you can sculpt whatever you want with radial symmetry. Okay? Cool. So, and this radial symmetry works with all shapes, so all brush, so you can do, move brush and make a little round thing like that if you so wish. You can do everything you want. All right? Cool. All right. That is radial symmetry. And then the next thing I'm going to cover is Dynamesh. So by default, Dynamesh is on for us. By default, and I'm using a custom UI here. If you don't know where it is under Geometry, then Dynamesh. All right. And then by default, if you see it's highlighted yellow, orange, that means it's on. And what Dynamesh does is, if let's say I'm going to move this thing super high up like that, no reason, right? If I hit Shift F on my keyboard, you can see that my topology is getting very stretched because I move it up here. Okay, and let's say I want to sculpt some details on here. I'm going to go in with my clay buildup and start sculpting. You guys can see that it's not going to be very nice, and that is because the topology is getting way too stretched in order for it to support the kind of sculpting information I want to do. Down here, it's not as stretched, right? And you guys can see that it's going to behave rather nicely. So what we need to do is we need to dynamesh this. So by default, it's already on. So what you have to do to activate it is to just hold down Control, then make sure your cursor is not on a piece of geometry, on any geometry. Just make sure your cursor is hovering out here, hold down Control, then left click and hold and drag to draw a mask marquee like this. Let go, it should dynamesh it for you. And now you should be able to go in and sculpt some more details on it. All right, so, and then the dynamesh is not a continuous process. You have to keep doing it. So it's not going to automatically do it again for you. So if I pull it up again, boop, super stretch again, even though it's activated, it's not going to do anything. We, as the user, have to activate it each time. Okay? So that is dynameshing. The last thing I'm going to cover is the masking tool and how to save your ZBrush file. So the mask tool, if you hold down Control, it turns yellow. You'll see your cursor turns yellow, and over here you'll see it. Your brush becomes a mask pen brush. So if you hold down Control, you can draw a mask out, right? And what the mask does is you, wrong brush here, there. Use clay buildup. If you sculpt around it, you're not going to be able to sculpt on the mask, right? And then this is the same button as the dynamesh, but make sure that when you dynamesh, the cursor is not on the mesh, right? That's when you can dynamesh, because if it's on the mesh, you're just going to draw a mask. Make sense? Also, make sure you don't draw it into the mesh like this, because if you do this, you will also draw a mask. So just make sure it's out there. Okay. So mask control, hold down Control, you can draw the mask, you can sculpt outside of it. Alternatively, if you with Control held down, if you just left click once, tap it a couple times, you see how it's softened out the mask? Right? And then if you hold down Control and Alt, and then tap left click, it's going to sharpen the mask. Right? And then if you hold down Control and hover your mouse off of the mesh and then just left click once, it's going to invert that mask for you. You can invert it back. Invert it again. All right. Lastly is how to save your ZBrush file. And that is to go up here, click Save As. Easy enough. And go to where you have it saved, you want to save it as, and just give it a name that you will remember. Click Save, and all is good. Lastly is how to load the ZBrush tool. So I'm going to start a new document here. Right, not sure why Control N wasn't working there. So now that you have a new document, and because you have a tool saved already, you don't want to restart with the Dynawax sphere, right? You want to load in what you have saved. So to do that, go to Load Tool and just find wherever you have it saved. For me, I'm just going to load in a different one. It's my human crochet. It's going to take a while to load in. And you can see that my human crochet gets loaded right here. It's the pelvis because that's the current active subtool I have. Sorry, I did it a little fast there. Just click and drag it out like that. Then hit T, or up here click Edit. It's the same thing. The hotkey for clicking Edit is the letter T on your keyboard. Now you can enter Edit mode, and from there you can sculpt. All right. Cool. All right. I guess the last thing I want to show you is how to quickly switch between subtool for this crochet. I have a lot of different subtools that I have put in different folders. So in order to quickly switch between them, I just hover my mouse over the part that I want to switch to, then hold down Alt, then right click just once. Boop. Now I'm sculpting on that. Hold down Alt, right click, boop. Now I'm sculpting on that. Right? So yeah, instead of having to go through the subtool menu and finding which piece it is that I got to work on, I can just hold down Alt and right click. All right. I think that's all I have for this video. I hope this was helpful, and yeah.